Alright, I'm trying to make this fast. I don't have a lot of time in my phone. Alright, so this is correcting a phase problem that's on a stereo mix. And this is if, you know, you can't go back. There's just whatever. There's no time, or you just don't have the ability, or it's just not convenient, whatever, to go back into the individual tracks and do a remix session. This is if you just have stereo tracks, and you need to deal with a phase problem that, you know, is what it is. I recorded a band 3 or 4 years ago, and I made a big mistake. We were in a huge rush, trying to do a lot in a small amount of time, and I ended up, you know, for one thing, spacing out about, you know, I didn't hit the mono button to check and make sure everything was cool. Also, I used a different device, a device that was new to me. It was a tape echo, a 70s tape echo, Korg stage echo, and it's, you know, so I was not used to it. I was using like 2 or 3 other delay boxes, you know, in the mixing process, and they were fine. You know, I used them all the time, and it was normal to just, you know, run it into a different channel. I mean, run it into the effects loop, and then send it back to another channel and process, and you mix the original signal with the affected channel together. So I did that with the tape echo, just thinking it'd be fine. Well, it turns out that the tape echo doesn't like that. That it needs it's just to be by itself, and it has a mix knob on it. So I should have just done that. Anyway, just totally missed that, and we ended up with, it was a big disappointment for the band and me, because, you know, the mix sounded really good just for what it is, you know, even with the phase problems in stereo. But, you know, you just can't have that, because people, if they want to listen on their phone or some other kind of mono source, then then things disappear. The guitars, sometimes the vocals, maybe the keyboards doing the chords, or a synth line. So we just kind of tried to figure out some solutions, and then just gave up. And then 3 years later, you know, I've decided to deal with it again, and came up with something that works for me. It, you know, it's not perfect, but it sounds good. Still sounds good. It still sounds stereo, but it's more of a narrow stereo. It's not, you know, as wide as I'd like. But, you know, I think it turned something that you know, was seen as unusable into something that is. And I'll just show you what I did, and you can modify. You know, this just has to do with how, you know, how I mixed the album to start with, or the songs, and you might need to modify for what, you know, if whatever issues you have, or however you mixed it. All right, so here's the song, and what I did, I have an Audacity. I'm not a digital guy. You know, I deal with analog stuff and tape machines and all that, so I'm just using Audacity. You know, I know there are better things, but this is what I got, and I'm not interested in upgrading or doing anything differently in that realm. So first, I'm going to split the stereo track. So now we have the left and the right. Make these both mono. Now they're both mono. So I'm going to take what was the right channel, select it, and duplicate it. So now we have 3. I'm going to take this duplicate of the former right channel, select it, go to effects, invert. So now we have the inverted former right channel. Go up here to the former left channel, select that, and duplicate. So now we have 4 channels. Okay, so what you're going to do is ultimately this is going to be put back to the right channel in the end. But you know, you need to leave it mono, obviously, while you mix these 4 channels together. You know, so you can tell, you know, what's working. I mean, like where you can hear all the instruments good enough or whatever. I don't totally get how all this works, but basically adjusting the volume levels of all these, you know, just it changes the phase. It's like you're mixing the phase of all these, and sometimes it enhances, you know, it enhances some instruments and quiets other ones. What I found is usually like the first 3, somewhere they usually want to, like, you know, sound good when you have them around minus 12 dBs. And then this last one, for whatever reason, works really well, like when it's a little bit louder. I don't know why, but that just has to do with my original mix. Also, on the last one, it seems to sound good with the panning 30% or 20% to the left. Again, you might have to change that because it doesn't, you know, make sense with your deal. Yeah, so just play around with it, you know, raise it, play the track, and, you know, adjust the volume levels, and eventually you should come up with something that sounds decent. Now I'll go back, you know, and toggle between making this a right channel and mono, you know, and that'll tell you, because that'll give you an idea, and this will make it sound kind of stereo and pretty decent. So mess with that, and then once you get it, you know, set, obviously save the project as whatever you want, and then export it as a wave, and of course that will combine the 4 channels into stereo. And, you know, also have the other, you know, the original track, you know, that has the phase problem, maybe pulled up in iTunes or something that you can listen to, so you can compare, you know, like, you know, just compare it between the 2. So that's it. I hope, you know, I hope it works for you.